Hi, Amira. Good afternoon.
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Um, I think today is the last class for us.
Yes.
So, how was the journey for all the classes?
Fine.
I liked it, ma'am. I liked so much.
Only yesterday it was a little difficult to follow because in normal terms, usual terms, we can understand. Technical, a little bit, I find it difficult. We can understand it, but the terminology is all a little bit feel it.
Yeah, little bit difficult.
Yeah, but we can understand it in a very simple
Hmm.
way. You have given examples, no? We can understand
That's what
it.
I said. Forget about the terminology and everything.
Yeah.
This is the process.
And most of the times we practice also, but we don't know that actually. Actually,
Yeah, true.
nature work is one of the thing that is in the mindfulness. Normally, I do every day, and I suggest most of my clients also go to riverside or
Yeah.
to seashore and keep no brisk walk or anything. Just watch birds, plants, other things like that. I say, and it gives lot of relief. It is a real
Right.
relaxation technique.
True. It's a very good relaxation technique. The only thing is we need a little bit of practice. That's it.
Yeah.
Initially, it will be very difficult, but slowly you get
Uh,
used to it.
yeah. It is really, those are the things, even though it has come from Jen, it is
Right.
very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Mm.
Hi, Girma. Hi, Batteries.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, Girma. So, how was yesterday's session for you? Is it clear or still on a confusion state?
Fine.
No, I think Agrima's network is a little bit problem.
Yeah.
She's not able to.
Having a little network.
And today is the last therapy we are talking
Yeah.
about schema.
Yeah. Schema. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I have not heard so far as schema. I think it may be named something else. Normally, schema therapy, I don't remember much where I studied. Where I studied.
Schema therapy is there. Actually, it is a prolonged process of CBT. So after CBT, the schema has been came into existence.
Uh, We are not going for a humanistic approach, no? We are
No, we are not going for humanistic approach.
Gestalt and that Roger we don't discuss.
No.
Actually, that is also very interesting. That is a especially Roger that ideal self and self, all those things. It gives lot of insight.
Yeah,
Actually,
but we need to learn that Rorschach-King-Blot personality assessment test actually. So that is little bit a very difficult process to learn. And as far as I believe in online learning online is little bit difficult. If it is a practical session, then it will be more helpful for us. Yeah.
But out of that, all those therapies we discussed, no, Most of the times,
Mm-hmm.
what I see nowadays is most of the people, most of the therapists, everybody concentrate on CBT only. Yeah.
Right. See, it depends. Like, for example, most of the times, because as I said, CBT focuses mostly on depression and anxiety,
That
right?
is a
So
common disorders we come
there's a
across.
common things which we face every day, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the reason we
Yeah.
mostly focus on CBT. But
Yeah.
if you get any clients who are related to any kind of trauma or grief,
Hmm.
so who they're getting or hallucinations or somewhere else, like, then we need to implement a psychodynamic and psychoanalysis techniques where we need to implement dream analysis and all those stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the clients will be on the stress or anxiety or depression.
Yeah.
And either they can have eating disorder or sleeping disorders or phobia, fear, anything,
Yeah.
right? So all this can be dealt with the CBT.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the reason we use CBT a lot in our practice.
Yeah. That is what I observe. Normally, more focus is always
Yeah, more
but
focus will be on CBT. True.
CBT.
And again, it depends on the therapist, like which therapy they want to be more expertise. So one of my friends, she is a psychoanalyst.
Oh. Nowadays,
So she,
very difficult to find such
yeah,
people.
it's very
Yeah.
difficult to find
Yeah.
the clients who to deal, right? So she works with the clinical neurologist as well as psychiatrist. So
Acha.
there she get the clients, then only she can handle that cases.
Yeah.
So possibly in her daily practice, it is very difficult. But
Yeah.
what I can say is always any kind of therapist, the ultimate aim is to change the thought process, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and change the behavior. So
Yeah.
what kind of techniques you are using, it completely depends on the therapist.
Yeah.
So even she is a psychoanalyst, she knows how to analyze the dream, all those stuff, but she use every technique, whatever she knows.
Ultimately, it is eclectic. That is what ultimately it comes.
Yeah, it's only how do you analyze the I mean, how do you gather the information and how do you assess the client, that plays a very important role rather than using the technique.
Yeah.
So she uses a one kind of 4 quadrant box for gathering the information. So
Yeah.
being a psychoanalysis. So what she do generally in those 4 quadrants, she takes the information from the first quadrant is about personal, and the second quadrant is about social relationships, and third quadrant is about emotional, and fourth quadrant is with the family and friends.
Acha.
So likewise, so she divide the quadrants and she gather the information and she enters all the information in each quadrant, and she finds where the client is weak, and
Acha.
from that point she will dig the entire information. So
Acha.
it depends on the therapist, how do you gather the information,
It is
and the more
it
you
is a
ask the
sort of
question.
a enneagram like that. It goes like that.
It's not enneagram, but it's a kind of how do you gather the data. See,
Yeah.
so as we were discussing, right, in the mindfulness we need to delete a why question,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
right? We can't ask the why questions, but in
Yeah.
CBT we need to ask the why questions,
Yeah.
a lot of why questions. So it depends how a therapist are using open-ended questions to gather the data and plan a short-term goal. So once your short-term goal is ready, then automatically you will get to use all that techniques, whatever you want to implement on the client, depending on the situation. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on the challenge.
Yeah.
But CBT is being used more because, as I said, it focused mainly on anxiety, stress, depression, other kind of phobias, fear, um, eating disorders, sleeping disorders, all the stuff. So and also we can deal CBT, I mean lifestyle changes also. So and most of the time nowadays nobody is having this mental health issues. Most of them they are having stress, anxiety, depression, and lifestyle changes. And that's where CBT is used a
But
on a
CBT,
lot of issues.
one limitation I understand with CBT is we can very well practice that CBT and get a good relief for the client. Only requirement is client minimum educational standards are required. Unless
No,
they have a educational little backgrounds. For a layman, it will be very difficult for us to go for CBT.
no, it's nothing like that. The CBT is the main limitation is only one thing. As you said, the point is correct because CBT works with the worksheets. So if
Yeah,
the client is not ready with the homework and he is not able to understand and is not cooperating with the homework,
yeah,
then it will be very difficult to handle the client. So then
yeah.
we need to switch the techniques. So automatically it goes on.
Yeah.
So what we generally do is like we motivate the client to do the homework. Most
Yeah,
of the times in front of us in the sessions itself, we will not assign in for the home. So
yeah,
we will ask them to implement it rather than writing it.
yeah,
So in front of the therapist, we will ask the client to write those worksheets. And after going home, we will ask them to implement those techniques.
yeah,
So that's the one thing. And the second thing is in the CBT, mostly the clients will not be able to spend lot of time.
yeah,
So the first two, three sessions itself, we take the information, we gather the information. As I said, for the CBT, we have one kind of structure format to gather the information. We mentioned the PPT also, case conceptualization. So that is one of the format we use for the CBT to gather the information. So in that, you will write the entire CBT structure. What is that behavior? What is your short-term goal? What is that consequences? What is that antecedent? And what kind of emotions are rising? What is the intensity level? Everything will be written on this case conceptualization. So that form is very important. Once you get to know that how to fill that form, so half of your therapy process is done,
yeah.
and then you can use everything. It will be very easy. So half of the goal, when once we achieve half of the goal, automatically the client gets satisfied and he will be ready for the sessions.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
So hi Amini, hi Dashita.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
How are
Hello, hi Juhi.
Sorry. Yeah, Darshita, you can go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Ma'am,
Yes, Dashita.
after tomorrow's mindfulness session, I have some queries that we are not using, we are giving commands, no? At that time, we are
Right.
not using means negative statements we are not making.
No, we are not making any negative statements.
Can you repeat these things?
So I didn't understand like what are the negative statements should not repeat? Like what exactly you
Suppose
want?
we have started with example, right? That we are in a hotel, we are ordering dosa with coconut chutney, and there are other food items also, but we are not focusing on puri and etc. And we are focusing only on dosa. Okay, that was our yesterday's example. Can you repeat that again, ma'am? So I need to understand more.
So in that we are trying to focus on one particular aspect which you want to focus.
Can you, ma'am, can you repeat that all the things, because yesterday I have experienced with closed eye. Today I want to experience with open eyes.
So you want that practice once again?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it the last of the session if you don't mind, because if we get the time we will do that, right?
But we are not
Otherwise, you'll get
using not,
Mhm.
not, no, not. We are not using that words, right?
no. In the mindfulness, we are not using not or no. And the second point is we are not using why questions.
Why and not question. We are not. We are giving only positive affirmations.
It's not positive affirmations. Whatever the commands you are giving, it should be in the form of in a different restructuring. Like for example, as I said yesterday, I am a failure. For that statement, you need to reframe it. Then you can write as I can make it,
Yes.
or I can try,
Yes.
right? Instead of using I'm not a failure.
We are using
So here,
motivating speech like this, right?
so most of the times we tend to say I'm not a failure. If someone says
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
failure, we'll say I'm not a failure. Here, we will not say those kind of statements. We will say I can do it, or
Try.
I
I
will
can do
make
it.
it right. I can make it right. So such kind of statements.
Okay. Yes.
So that is right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's talk today about schema therapy.
Okay.
What do you know about schema? Anyone from the team? Any idea?
No. No.
No idea. Okay. So schema therapy is dealt with a chronicle challenges of the patients. So most of the cases will be dealt with the CBT, but this therapy has been found later after the CBT process because young scientist he discovered that um, CBT can be used to a certain extent, but not completely to the patients who are very characterized or who are having a personality disorders. So for that reason, they have extended, they have found this schema therapy saying that there are some schemas which have been developed right from the childhood, attached with any kind of trauma or any kind of which we add an experience to that schemas, and from that we will derive with a response or a behavior.
Yes.
So if we get to know what kind of schema the client is having, and from those assumptions what kind of behavior or what is the thought process, then it is very easy to for the therapist to change the client belief system as well as the behavior. That is schema therapy.
Sorry, can you repeat it one more time? You're saying that understanding the process,
Yeah, just one second. I'll
understanding
share
the,
the screen.
okay, sorry.
Is it clear? Is it visible?
No,
Yes,
it
yes,
is.
it's visible.
Yes, visible.
Okay. So here the schema therapy is like a powerful form of therapy, which is designed to help people who are stuck, who are stuck in recurring and unhelpful pattern of emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. So the same thing happens in the CBT also. The people who are designed to recurring unhelpful pattern of emotion, thought, and behavior. But here, it is clearly shaped with the reactions of the past experiences. In the So this therapy will used as a person's psychology to make a sense how those inner conflicts shape the reaction to the circumstances. Right. So on the whole, if I say the schema therapy has been developed by Jeffrey Eng, scientist, in some mid 1980s, he found this behavior therapy to be less helpful for some individuals, particularly those who are having chronic characterological concerns. This is the main point, right? So on CBT is helpful for only to a certain extent, not for all the emotions. So CBT is helpful for the border level or to the moderate level, but CBT is not helpful for the chronic level of the patients. Why? Because CBT is completely done with the awareness of the client, right? So we are working with the client thought process. So ultimate aim is just to find out, to bring that thought process from unconscious to conscious, bringing that awareness, right? So here the client has to have that insight, what exactly his problem is. So the client has to have that insight, or a therapy has to provide that insight to the client. But in a schema therapy, the people who are having that some kind of personality disorders where he doesn't even understand what exactly the problem is, or some chronic level of depression or anxiety. So there they decided that all these patterns or all these kind of emotions are being derived or got from the chronicle. I mean, right from the childhood, there is some experience attached to this emotion. So if we know the schemas, then it is very easy to identify what kind of schema it is, and so that we can deal with the client. So these schemas can be maybe right from the childhood, or it can occur in the adult stage also. But most of the times, the schemas will be right from the childhood. Clear? And especially this therapy is used for borderline personality disorders.
Borderline personality disorders, as in?
This therapy deals mostly on personality disorders. So the different kind of personality disorders. So this therapy will be dealt with the personality disorders. But CBT can't deal with the personality disorders.
Oh.
Just schizophrenia, ma'am?
No.
No.
Then personality disorder like dual personality
See,
patient, like that is the condition?
see, CBT, we can't work with the schizophrenia or hallucination patients because it's very chronical level of
Yes.
medical history, right? So it has to be treated with the psychiatrist, as well as we can treat with this chemotherapy because it's the chronical level.
Yes.
So here we are identifying what kind of schema the client is having. So later on, you will understand what are those schemas. So on
Yes.
the whole, there are 13 schemas, and they are categorized into 5 domains. So if we understand those schemas, it is very easy to understand what kind of techniques can be used to implement this therapy. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So CBT is
So
only for border level and initial level, right? Border level, and what are the other places which you said, ma'am?
chronical level of any kind of emotion.
That
Chronical.
is for ST. That is for ST, CMAS care.
Yes.
For CBT, it is not suitable for chronicle. It's only for border level.
Yes, if the client is having a very severe level of depression or severe level of anxiety or any other disorder, the CBD can't be used.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this? Because in the CBT, we will not able to identify what is the trauma attached to with the client, or what is that like a childhood experience he had in his mind, which was built in the unconscious level.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So if we identify that schema, then we can implement this therapy. Right.
So,
as I said,
childhood, difficult childhood, most of the times will be one of the reasons for personality disorders. So
right.
early bringing
Right.
up. So in such
Right.
cases, we may try this particular technique to.
So if you see most of the cases with the children, they develop some kind of shame or distrust or guilt or such kind of behavior, right? And being as a therapist, if they're coming with such kind of issues, it's not only the children, they can be an adults also. right? So if they're coming with a guilt, let's think they are coming with the guilt. So if you are dealing with the client, you will either in the CBT or any kind of therapy, it is very important to understand what is the past history.
Yeah.
So you will get to know what is the past history, what is that incidents made him to think
Yeah.
or made him to get into guilt,
Yeah.
right? That is the point.
So
Once you, but in
childhood,
the
most of the times, this emotional and sexual abuse of the childhood children, such cases in the
right,
later life when they have problems, we may able to go through with this technique to get out of that problems.
absolutely. So if the
Mm.
client, if the child is having, or if the adult is having any kind of insecure feeling, or if he is having any kind of abuse or anything, the child will develop a schema of mistrust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
that means he will not develop trust with anyone right from the childhood, and that will made him to provide a kind of guilt or shame or anything. He may
Yeah.
not, for that reason he may not share anything with other people. He will maintain a social distance. So the different kind of behaviors.
Yeah.
So it is important to understand what kind of schema the client is having, what is the experience, and how it is leading to the responses or to the behavior.
Yeah.
Right, Amini?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So develop a
Right.
mistrust schema, right?
Pardon?
No, no, develop, the child will develop a mistrust schema.
There are different kind of schemas. I'm just giving an example. So we'll
Okay,
discuss the schemas now.
okay. No, I'm just making note of the keywords so that, I can refer through. I have a habit of making notes.
Yeah. Right. So any doubts until here? Juhi, Batris, Amira,
So, can I ask a funny
Agrima?
question? Can I ask
Yes.
some funny question? So, we all
Yes.
are aware of this Vikram's movie, right? Onion.
We are all
Aparichitadu.
aware of. Yes.
Onion, Aparichitadu. So, in that, he will be
Mhm.
having a multiple split personality.
Right.
So, is it an impact of, can that be cured through schema therapy?
Because if you see in that movie, there is a childhood trauma for that person, which was there in the unconscious level, which even he doesn't know that is the reason for that split personality. So there is an incident where his sister has died because of the lack of proper maintenance of the government, from the government side or from
Lack
the
of people
employees.
are following the rules.
Right, following the rules. So from that moment, he started following the rules, and if he reacts with the people who, if those who are not following the rules unconsciously, he doesn't even know that he's reacting.
So, by the time, so that means he is suffering from a chronic anxiety, right?
We can't call it as a chronic anxiety.
It's
He
a bad
has that
effect of past experiences.
right. So here we are identifying his childhood experiences, childhood trauma. So always trauma can be dealt with. It's a chronic level. Trauma is always a chronic level, right? If you are having a trauma, and this trauma, if you identify whether this person is falling under which schema, either he is falling disconnection, rejection. See, if you see here, let's take the same example for this entire therapy, this movie. So everyone are aware of this movie.
Which movie? Which movie, ma'am?
Aparijit. In Hindi, it's known as Aparijit.
Aparijitudu is in Telugu, but I'm not sure about other
Yes, I have
languages.
seen. Yes, I have seen. It is in Hindi dubbed version. I have seen.
Okay, so what about Batris and Amira, Juhi, Agrima?
No, I have
No,
not.
ma'am. No, ma'am. I haven't seen.
No.
No.
There was
Okay.
an old Hindi movie, but I don't remember that thing. But it was very popular Hindi movie. In that, heroine has that things because of her childhood bad experiences. Around 15 years of age, she has developed this kind of schizophrenia. And the patient was in night time, patient was going outside, and
Mhm.
after marriage, people were saying bad things about her, and Later his
No,
her
no, no.
husband
It's not that
find out
picture.
that
It's not
he
that
has
picture.
problem.
Okay,
No, no,
we
I
will
have seen that
explain.
movie.
Okay, but that
Another
it's not that
movie.
movie. It's not that movie. But
Okay.
okay, we will explain in the other ways because everyone doesn't know that movie, right?
Yeah.
So here there are. All the schemas are divided into 5 domains. So the first domain is disconnection and rejection. So in this schema, in disconnection rejection, it includes schemas that make it difficulty to develop healthy relationships. So here, the patients always believe that uh, their needs for stability or safety or nurturance, love, and belongings will not be met at any time.
Yeah.
They develop a schema because it is in this domain, all the patients who belongs to this domain, they believe that it is very difficult to develop a healthy relationship. Why they believe that? Because the need for safety or nurturance or love or belongings will not be met. So why they develop this thing? Again, this domain 1 is divided into subdomains. So we will explain it later. And the domain 2 here, impaired autonomy and performance. It includes schemas that make it difficult to develop a strong sense of self and functioning in the world as an adult. So in this domain, the people will have a difficulty to develop an self-esteem or self functioning. So they will have that impairment of, or in easy words I could say, they'll be dependent on the other people.
Yeah.
So that is domain 2. So domain 3 always in this schema that affects self-control, and they forget to set the boundaries and limits. That is domain 3. Any doubt? Right? We will discuss step by step. Yes, Yamin.
Okay, so domain 2 is, I mean, can you repeat that? Sorry.
So domain 2 always they develop a kind of thought process that they will have. It is very they will develop a kind of dependency on other people. They can't function individually. They have that insecurity feeling, right?
And that they
And
show in
domain,
form of domination, right? Like they show that, hey, you know what, you need to do it. The dependency also, they don't show in a superior level. Rather, that will be in, I'm sorry, not in an inferior level, but in a superior level, they try to like impose that
it's
dependency
not
as
about
well.
superior level or inferior level. They always develop a feeling that they never take a right decision.
Oh, okay, like
And
insecure feeling.
yeah, and that will be developed because in the childhood experience, in the childhood, maybe the parent will be too possessive, or they may not have that exposure to talk with the people or handle the challenges. So if they are having such kind of experience in the childhood, they will always be dependent on the other people,
Okay, okay, got it.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. And the domain 4 is other directedness. So here in this schema, that will lead this schema leads to the not to prioritize the needs of others above your own. That means in this domain, it will lead the person not to think about his own prioritize the things. He will give the importance for the other people emotions or needs. He will not give, the client will not give the importance to his own needs. That is other directedness. So here the client prioritize is about other people needs rather than his own needs. And the domain 5 is over vigilance and inhibitions. Here in this schema, always they prioritize avoiding failures or mistakes through alertness, rules, and discarding desires or emotions. So whatever the emotions are there, they just prioritize avoiding the failures or mistakes. Always they want to be perfect.
I see
Right?
that whatever domains you have explained, right? These are the
Mhm.
basic emotional responses. So, I mean, for
Right.
everyone will have the same basic emotional responses, right? So
Right.
that
And
does not.
why these, okay, let's not go into subdomains. Let's discuss the domain one. So in this year, the schema makes it difficult to develop a healthy relationship. Now you people come up with the reasons why could a person develops such kind of behavior, why he will not be able to develop a good relationship. Think about the childhood experiences.
That is because of mistrust.
Because of mistrust. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be. Any other reasons? Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am, maybe because unhealthy parenting styles they might have
Un
experienced.
Unhealthy relationship. You are saying unhealthy relationships, right? Okay,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
could be one of the reasons. Right, good. So any other reasons? Think, think more. Let's think, because we are using a word trauma here. So think in that aspect. Why the people have that difficulty to develop a good relationship.
Many a times it has been seen that a father is beating a child, and that child, when becomes adult, he has,
So that comes under mistrust. Already it
yes,
was discussed.
yeah.
And
That comes under mistrust.
I have one
Uh-huh.
very specific issues. I am questioning this with all our medical fraternity people also whenever I meet. Why can't there be much research on the subject? I observed one basic thing regarding childbirth. When a child is born premature, if the mother is not taken immediately to the child, and normally the child is kept in the incubation for a
Yes.
period of 10 days, 15 days, like that, and mother will not be able to see the child or meet the child in the first instance. And later on, I observed such children who develop, they become most emotionally insecure in later life because they lose that first grip of the mother when they born to.
So it has in kangaroo care. There is a kangaroo care treatment for that. In that, mother holds the child under her garments and gives the heat of her own body to the child, and that, because in premature children there is a problem in the temperature, that as a in already newborn children, they are not settled to temperature. In ICU also you will see that in an ICU there is also temperature is maintained, because their body is very susceptible, and
No,
mothers
I am not after temperature or other things.
no,
I
no,
am
No,
it is a
after,
love
here.
and
after
affection.
connection,
Love
after
and affection,
connection.
sir. Sir, it
Yeah,
is a bonding and attachment between the mother and child
yeah.
that makes a child survive, sir. There are a
Right,
lot
right.
of children who
We are
have
not
gained.
talking about here. Right, Darshita. Whatever the therapy technique you are saying, it's absolutely correct. You will give that warmness of the mother to
Yeah,
get that sensibility. I understood
yes.
that. That is a
But
technique.
yes,
But
it
we are not
helps for
talking about the
attachment.
technique here.
Between attachment between the mother and child feels security with mother. That
We
gives
know
security.
that.
Yeah.
Right. We are not discussing the technique here. We are discussing the reasons here.
Reason. Yeah, yeah. You are
It is
right.
a,
We know this is the technique. Right.
yeah.
Whatever you said is correct. That is a
Yes.
technique. But we are not discussing the technique here. We are discussing the cause.
Reasons,
What is the
reasons.
cause and what is the
Yeah,
reason?
yeah,
So we are
yeah,
digging that reason.
yeah.
So if you imagine, let's think, if you imagine the child or anyone who are having trauma, why they don't have healthy relationships, think in a broader aspect. Somewhere the people have that feeling that those who they love so much, they will not be there with them for the longer time.
They will be afraid of losing them.
They will be afraid, right? They'll be always
Yeah.
having that feeling. Why that feeling?
I was supposed to say that, but I felt
Sense of insecurity.
Right. So why that is happening? So that could be one of the reason. Think in a broader aspect. So all these reasons are divided into subdomains, and those schemas are the reasons or the root cause for their behavior. Now you got it, Yamini and other people, everyone.
Yes,
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 ma'am.
ma'am.
So
So
why this
sometimes this could be
disconnection?
also, sometimes this could
Yes.
also be a reason because I had the same feeling with my mom, like, oh my God, like I really want her every time. I can't live without her. And then when a lot of things happen and then I have to like leave my mom and go for job, right? That feeling was still there at the same time that was underneath, right? So
Mm-hmm.
likewise, I would say that, okay, why a child behaves like this. Maybe because like what if somebody would have taken advantage on that person? Like if
Mm-hmm.
we love somebody so much, right? Sometimes we'll be taken for granted. Sometimes we'll
So
be
that
taken
is
advantage of.
there it comes again mistrust. Because if the person is taking the advantage of that person, so he's losing the confidence level. He developed a mistrust. So from that mistrust, again, there's a response over here. Maybe the fear develops, the shame or guilt arises.
What is
So
mistrust?
let's
I'm not
no,
able to get that word mistrust.
you'll understand now. So let's think here. There are 4 domains under domain 1. This abandonment and instability, the emotional deprivation, defectiveness or shame, the social isolation or alienation. These are the subdomains. Now, if we discuss these subdomains, the first one, so we remember, right? Domain 1 is always about the schemas, which makes the people very difficult to develop an healthy relationships, right? Under that, there are 4 subdomains. We are talking about the first subdomain, abandonment and instability. So in this schema, so they have that emotional attachment. In this, they will lose that any with anyone, that emotional attachment, whatever it is formed, right? So here, these patients who are having this schema, they feel that who are there in the important people in their life will not have that continuity with them, because they feel that emotionally they are unpredictable. They're only the present. Somewhere they will die, or they may leave with them, or they leave them, or somewhere they would be better. So the people who are having such kind of feelings, they will have this abandonment and instability. So here the root cause is they always believe that emotional attachment will not be always with them. It can be detached by the way the people die. They may leave, or they may what they can say, right now it is not it is not practical, or somewhere they feel like they left us and they were living much far better after leaving us. They always believe that emotional attachment is not permanent. So for this reason, so why this happens, why we get such kind of things, because here the clients and the children at the children's stage, they may experience with an parents, either with a divorce or death of the parents. So why this schema is developed? Because if they feel the death of the parents, if the children has lost their parents in the childhood, they develop a schema. They don't have that emotional attachment with anyone. They don't have that healthy relationship with anyone. They believe that if not today, some other day they has to leave them.
Yeah. Yes.
So they don't develop that kind of schema. So they don't develop that emotional attachment with them, even though they have friends, even though they have people around them. They just maintain the relationship, not but not an emotional relationship here.
It is a repression of their own
Ma'am,
feelings there.
Right. Who is talking?
Repression of their own feelings there.
Right. So for this,
ma'am, can
yeah,
I
yes,
share one thing?
yes, sorry, yeah,
Ma'am,
Beatrice.
these things also happened to me. I was never close to my parents
Mhm.
from childhood, mostly with my father because he was never around, he was never there. So I grew up
Mhm.
with this thing that like he comes and he goes, and he's never available whenever I needed him, or whenever I really needed him. But he always like want me to do things for him, like be a good person, be a nice daughter, do this, do that. But it's whenever I need him, he was like never there. So I have this thing that I don't connect with people that easily. And whenever someone is being nice to me, or somebody um, is doing things for me, I just have the suspicion, why do they want something from me? So I do have a lot
Absolutely.
of friends, but I don't connect with people that easily.
Yeah.
I have like 2 3 people I can easily talk to. I am comfortable with. Otherwise, I don't like to share things or talk about myself. And I realized it like a few months ago. So that's how I try to change that and try to be more expressive. Um, so I think it goes right back to my
Yeah.
childhood experiences that
Yeah.
I
Thank
have
you,
developed
Beatrice.
this
Thank you
Mr.
so much
Uh,
for
A real
giving
story
your
of
own real experience over here.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
exactly, you
Thank
are the
you.
live experience over here, and you gave your feelings, and I appreciate as well that you are trying to improve yourself, right?
Yeah.
So because
Good.
that is affecting you not to maintain
Yeah,
a good
thank you, ma'am.
relationship, right? I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes,
So
ma'am.
now I think everyone got clarity, right? Yamini, did you get clarity? But
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Darshita,
I did.
Yes, ma'am.
But I have a
right?
question here. So,
Mhm.
like a person with this, right? For example, this schema type. Anyways, that person will get in relationship. That person will get
Mhm.
married. So, if they have this kind of a cautious or a fear, right? Then why do they even want to get married?
See, the marriage is always, people think it's a mutual, but it's a family thing also. Even if you are feeling that you don't want to get married, but sometimes, because it's not between two people, it's between two families.
Two
So
families.
if
Yeah.
if it
It,
depends on the belief
yeah.
system, whatever you believe, right? If you ask me, my belief system is between two families. If you ask
Yeah.
someone
Right.
else, they say
Two
between those two
two
people,
individuals. Two
two
individuals.
individuals. And if you
Yeah.
ask some other people, it's my own decision. So
Yeah.
it depends how you think and how do you perceive about marriage,
No, no,
right?
right. I'm not denying that because even I have undergone, I mean, a lot of process. But what? No, no. I'm just trying to understand that because say suppose if I'm in that situation, like I really don't want to trust anybody, which I was, and then there came a point that I really trust somebody and got married, and again I'm developing the same feeling. That means the person who gave me trust who is actually breaking my trust. So again, I'll go back to the same state, right? So it's me who's going to like be okay. I trust this person after a lot of things, and then again I'm getting married to the person, and the person is again breaking my trust, and then I'll go back to the same old like pavilion, right?
You may go back to the same old situation. Definitely, there are the chances, but here with your experiences. So that's what we are talking about psychotherapies. What are the therapy you're learning? It's all about your experiences. So out of these experiences, what do you expect right now in this at this moment? So either you want to break your relationship, or either you want to continue the relationship, or you want to give an opportunity for the other people. So what is your goal?
Okay.
So from
So if
that
I was,
aspect, you will start thinking either you want to change your lifestyle or your thinking pattern, or at that situation, you may have some emotional issues also, right? You may feel depressed, or you may feel anxiety, or you may have suicidal tendencies. You may have other kind of issues, right? So if your emotions are dominating, then definitely uh, emotion gets dominated. Your behavior, there will be some other behavior that you will respond in such a way, right? So to overcome your responses, definitely you need a change. Ultimately, after some time, you will realize that I have to change, because we are
but
humans here.
these kind of situations, right? It's our own. I mean, we have to change our own thought process. That okay, I have to start believing. It's not that the opposite person or a partner, for example, will make me believe in this journey.
See, always there's a simple rule in psychology. Always, it's very important to think. Always to learn. It's not about the think. It is important to learn. We can't change other person. We can change only our minds. We can't change other people's mind. Right. Now, being as a therapist, why we are here today? That's the question. Because when we can't change the other people's mind, why we are here? Why we are learning all these things? Because our main goal is to change other people's mind. But why, when we can't change, what is the use of learning all these therapies? Here, the simple rule: we are not going intentionally to change the other people's mind. They are coming to us to change themselves. So there is an initiative process from the other people, right? They are coming to change themselves. So that initiative is from them, and we are here, a helping hand, to pull them from their emotions and change their behavior through their own decisions, or through their own thought goals. We are not giving any kind of suggestions, or we are not giving any kind of these things. Whatever the techniques you are learning here, you will use those techniques to pull the information or to pull the answers from the client, and assign them to do, or assign them or to implement it. That's it. We're not giving any suggestions here. So that is the main reason. So here, if you are coming to your personal challenge, you can't expect either your husband or your children to change. You are the one who has to change. And that's what we learn yesterday or in all the therapies, your thought restructuring. So instead of thinking why that other person is thinking so wrong or behaving in such a way, we can change that statement: why I'm looking in such a way. Or instead of using that why question, what is making to think in that way? Instead of why, remove that and use what, how, such kind of statements. So when you are using what and how and when, where, then your mind receives those commands. Instead of searching the answer, your mind gives you the solutions. So when you ask a why question for yourself, your mind search the answers immediately right from your past experiences. So it pulls all the data, which is loaded in the unconscious mind. But when you're changing the question pattern to yourself, then you'll get the answers. So you will find, your brain starts finding the solutions. So you will never know what is the process, how this process grows in your brain. That is a physical. There's a difference between a brain and a mind. Again, there's a different other. We are going out of the subject here again. Brain and mind are completely different. Brain and mind are completely different. Brain is always a physical thing where we can see the shape. Mind, there is no shape. It is an energy which is covering the brain, right? That mind has three conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. It takes all the information and it loads that information in those levels, right? When you are having those emotions, your brain receives that energy from the brain, mind, and it releases chemical reactions in your body, which creates an emotion, starts from your spinal cord to the amygdala. That is the process, actually. So here, brain is different, mind is different. So
Yes.
don't be confused. It is completely different. So whatever the thoughts you are having, right? The energy you are developing, positive or negative energy, your body releases that energy. And that energy is being converted yourself by using what, when, where, how questions, instead of asking why questions. And these questions you will ask in the same way to the client. Instead of asking why, you can ask what made you to think in that aspect. From where did you get this thing? How did you develop this kind of thought? What is causing you? So when this happened, can we talk much more about it? So if you ask for the solutions, these kind of questions, the client will able to answer it. When we use these why questions will be used to gather the data from the previous history. And for the solutions, we use what, when, where, and how. Is it clear? Am I confusing?
Yeah.
We went
No,
completely
it's clear.
out
Yeah.
of the topic. I'm not sure today at what time we are going to close the session. You people has to be patient, and Somnath has to excuse me.
Yeah.
Actually, ma'am, we
Right.
are having a lot of information from you. It's kind of good one, right? So it's not about the time, it's about the information we take from you.
Thank you so much, but still we have the other batches, right? They has to
Right.
set that time.
This is our last
Right.
class, so we have some excuses.
True, right? And the second domain is emotional deprivation. So in this domain, this schema, the clients set an expectations that whatever the one's desire for this emotional connection will not be adequately fulfilled. That means whatever the emotions derived from the nurturing or love or empathy or protection, right? They believe that all these are expectations will not be sufficient, right? So that is emotional deprivation. So they have the deprivation here. So that means here, if you see the nurturance, need for affection, closeness, and love, in this schema, they refers to the belief that the primary emotional needs will never be met by other people. It is always less. They described this schema into three categories: nurturance, closeness, and empathy. And here we understand that whatever the guidance and protections we developed will not be sufficient by the other people. So why it is happening? Because maybe the parents are so cold or are removed or they don't care about the children in the aspects. I mean, the parents are not able to meet the children needs adequately in their childhood. That may cause this deprivation, right? And the third one is defectiveness and shame. So in this domain, we always believe that, so whatever they have this bad inferior feeling or worthless, that they feel always that they will be unlovable to other people. So they always have that feeling that they are worthless or having that inferior feeling, and they always develop a schema that they are unlovable to other people. So usually this schema will be developed with a sense of shame regarding one's perceived defects. So for example, they develop like selfishness or aggressive or unacceptable or like unattractive appearance, or if they are looking awkward, they always feel that there is some defective in themselves, right? So that is defective and shape. So when they feel there is some inadequacy in themselves, they develop this defectiveness and shame. And the other one I have not mentioned here, we are talking about mistrust and abuse, right? So in this schema, we always believe that whatever client the client feels that there's an opportunity, like they have their own selfish ends. Matlab, people use them for their own selfishness. So they may abuse or they humiliate or they may lie or they cheat or they manipulate the patient. So then they develop mistrust. And the fifth domain is social isolation or alienation. So this schema develops a belief that one is isolated from the world, different from other people, not a part of the community. So they always develop a sense of belief system that doesn't belong to this community, or doesn't belong to this family, or that doesn't belong to this largest society. So in this situation, the parents with this schema, they do not belong to any community or group. So this belief is barely developed in the childhood experiences. They believe that these families or they doesn't belongs to any community. They may belong to some other background, right? So then they have this kind of issues. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Clear? Clear?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And the second domain is about impairment, autonomy, and performance. So in this autonomy, we always believe that there is an ability to separate from own one family, to function them independently and comparatively to the people of their own age. So that means the patient with this domain, in this domain, they have some expectations about themselves and at the world, and they develop an inferior feeling that they are different from the other people. They can't have that strong evidence, or they don't have that strong independent feeling that they can mingle with other people, they can handle all kind of challenges. So here there are few more domains. So if we talk about dependency or incompetence schema, so in this schema, people always believe that they are not capable to handle day-to-day responsibilities competently, and they always dependent on the other people, right? So always feel that what are the decision what are the decision making or to initiate a new task, usually they will not able to handle this kind of the schemas who are having this thing. Especially you can see them, the people who are not able to take a good decision, or they're not able to take any challenge in the offices, right? They can't make a good judgment, or they will be always helpless, they'll be isolated to themselves. So such kind of behavior will fall under dependence and incompetent schema. So in this situation, generally why this happens, because parents did not encourage the children to act independently and develop confidence in themselves to take care of it. So usually parents will be taking care of everything and children never get a chance to take care of themselves. So they don't know how to handle themselves independently, right? And the second schema is vulnerability to harm or illness. So it is like they exaggerate fearing. So it's like overthinking. If you see here catastrophe, so here this means overthinking. We have seen this is a negative thinking pattern in CBT. Overthinking about the future or overthinking something will happen negative, right? They have this kind of feeling. So why this is this they develop? So they always believe that at any moment, if they cause any kind of harm, they will not be able to cope up. They can't protect themselves. So they extremely develop fearful situation. So why this is happening? Because the fearful parents may always pass on an area. For example, parents usually generally used to say to threaten the children, that is a very dangerous place, never go to that area. So they never allow the children to see that area or try to make an attempt. So if they keep on repeating and repeating and repeating, it's not for one time or two times. If this it's happening for over a period of time, they develop a scheme of vulnerability of harm or illness. Right? Am I going fast? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So the third schema is enmeshment or undeveloped self schema. So here in this schema, they often involve like the emotional involvement with others, or usually with the parents or with other or with the romantic partners, right? So they always feel or at the time of retirement or anything, they always frequently believe that at least one of this individual would not function without the other people. So they have that lot of too much of emotional involvement here. So in the first amendment, they will not have emotional attachment. In this amendment or undeveloped self schema, they develop a lot of emotional attachment, and they always believe that someone has to be there with them. They has to be connected to each other. So because of this dependency, right? Too much of so why this is developed? Because they have that inner feeling that the parents who are so controlling and obsessive or so protective, they always develop such kind of schema that there has to be someone has to be there to protect them.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So that is domain 2. Any doubts until domain 1 and domain 2?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am. No.
Great. So what about Yamini and other people? Is it clear, Yamini?
Yeah, it's true.
Right. Darshita, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I
So
think
now
there's a
we
lot
are
of noise
entering
from
in.
Amira's. Yeah, okay, it's gone.
Okay, so now we are entering into domain 3. So in this domain, the people generally develop not the adequate interpersonal limits. Like they don't develop this ability of developing a boundaries or setting some limits towards themselves or self-discipline. They always have difficulty in respecting of rights of other or cooperating or keep communicating or meeting long-term goals. These patients always often present as selfish, irresponsible, or narcissistic kind of personalities. So these kind of people, they usually typically grow up in a family who are very pessimistic and indulgent. Like any schema, they are emotionally deprived. So as a children, these patients were not required to follow the rules that apply to everyone. They consider themselves that they have developed these kind of set of rules to have a self-control over them. So in this, we have subdomains again. So the first subdomain is entitlement and grandiosity. So in this schema, it is an assumption that one is superior to the other people. So this schema, there is a belief system. So one is dependent on the other people, and therefore they are entitled to special rights and privileges. So in this year, patients with this schema do not feel bound by the rules. So if you see here in the schema, that refers to the belief that you should be able to do, say, or have whatever you want immediately. They whatever they immediately, they don't have any kind of feelings, that they don't respect other people's feelings or responses. They just want to complete the rules or regulations, whatever they are having in their mind. So they don't bother about the other people. They don't have that self-control. So why this schema is dull? Because to compensate for their emotional feeling or deprivations, they develop on the other people the domination. So to overcome their emotional deprivations, to overcome their feelings, they put their feelings on the other people to complete the task. Got it? Any confusion?
No, ma'am. Sorry, can you give an example?
Like, see, for example, I am angry. I'm angry on you, right? So I don't want to express you. I'm very angry on you, so that I will set up some rules and regulations, which is very hard to you. I don't bother. Is it difficult for you? Can you make it or not? Is it possible for you? I don't bother about your feelings. I don't bother about anything. To overcome my emotions, to overcome my deprivations. If deprivations is always something is lacking, right? I'm not having that feeling. So I am, to overcome that, I am not bothered about your feelings. I'm just assigning you to complete it. So I'm not respecting you. I'm not respecting your feelings, or I'm not respecting your rules and regulations. Right?
It can be normal day-to-day task also, right?
Right. It can be normal physical task also.
Mhm.
Right? And the second domain is
And what if,
insufficient.
okay,
Mhm,
in this case, sorry, I want to understand this. In this case, if,
mhm.
I mean, as you said, you're giving me a certain task and I'm unable to do the task because I'm tired or maybe I was working. And you're coming back to me and saying that, hey, you have to do it. And if I'm saying I will not do it, what will be the reciprocations? Like, as you said,
Right.
when
For
you're angry on
example,
me. So how will
let
that
me give
person
you
react?
right. Let me give with your HR example. So if the person having the superiority complex, right, he has that superiority feeling, and he always maintain an exaggeration focus on that superiority. An example like being he's the most successful person, he's very famous and wealthy, in order to achieve that power. So here, in order to substitute it, because he has a feeling that he's focusing on the superiority, to overcome that, he is showing a feeling, he's exaggerating the things, that he's very famous, he's wealthy, right? He's very successful. So here he is overcoming
Ma'am,
that superiority feeling.
even if they are not, they will still pretend that they are.
Yes, they are pretending it. So here, such kind of people, they're always dominating or demanding, and they lack of empathy. So they have this kind of qualities. So they're always demanding, because not to show their emotions or feelings, they always have a tendency to dominate the other people.
Okay, this is a
So
case of
here,
if
Mhm.
okay, if I'm not able to fulfill the whatever the person says, right? So that person will also tend to like harm or maybe hurt. So what will be reciprocation? What will be output?
He will not harm or he will not harm himself. He will dominate you with a set of rules. He will show that superiority. He will show that demanding.
No,
He
that's
doesn't
what.
bother. He doesn't have that empathy.
With that domination only, I mean, with that domination, if he's trying to insist to do something, if I'm denying that time, what will be the
Mhm.
output?
He loses his self-control. That's what here. That affects self-control here.
So that's what he can go limitless, right? Like, for example, he can throw things or he can harm or something like that, pick a fight.
Anything. It can be. It depends on the person, culture, personality, the experiences, environment. All these factors plays an important role. We can't say exactly that the person throws the things or throw tantrums or he gets anger or frustrated or irritated. It depends on person to person because every person is unique here, right? It depends on the all these environmental situations also plays an important role for a person to behave.
Okay. So
So
basically, this is a
if
case of narcissism. This can be a case of narcissism also.
right.
No, I've undergone such, I mean, an experience like this. That's why I'm like digging more. Sorry.
No problem. So as I said, schema therapy mostly works on personality,
Right, right, right.
right? And the second domain is insufficient self-control and self-discipline. So in this schema, either they refers to their inability
Yes,
to
Riyoto?
tolerate in any frustration in reaching one's goal, or they do not regulate their experience on their emotions or impulses. So because of lack of control, they always have that extreme level of behavior in their life. So they lose their self-control and self-discipline for because of the schemas, because of intolerance level or frustration level to reach one's goal, right? Any doubt?
No,
No,
ma'am.
no.
Right. Okay. And in the domain 4, we are talking about other directedness. So in this schema, um, they mostly focuses on the prioritizing the needs of others above your own. That means they focus on the priorities of the other people than their priorities. So they do this in order to gain approval or maintain emotional connections or avoid some kind of disturbances with the other people, right? So when they interact with the other people, they tend to focus mostly or exclusively on the responses of the other person. So most of the time they they focus on the other people responses, right? So that they maintain a good relationship with the other people and the rapport. And because of this schema, they are not able to fulfill their own needs, and because of that they have that own anger and preferences. So that is the domain 4. So in this domain we have few more subdomains. The first is subjugation. So in this subjugation, we call it this schema as avoiding that, how we can say, subjugation is completely like we are surrendering ourselves to other people.
Yeah, surrendering. Yes.
We are surrendering completely to the other people. So that why we are surrendering here, because we are suppressing our own feelings, our own emotions for the other people. So the people in this schema, they suppress their emotions, they suppress their feelings, and they work for the other people to satisfy the other things. Why this subjugation occurs? Because in the childhood, there was generally a very controlling parent. So if the child is having a very controlling parent, then they always suppress their feelings. They
Most
tend
of
to
the
develop
time,
a kind of adjustment.
this is the case most of the time with Indian mothers who sacrifice everything for the sake of the family.
Right. It can be. It not only parents, but most of the parents sometimes they, let's think in the childhood, most of the parents are having that habit of focusing on the children's education. So they have their own dreams and they push the children to fulfill their dreams, because in their childhood they were not able to get success, and now they want their children to get the success,
Yeah,
and they
I am,
insist their children,
yeah, yeah. I am
and
talking
they
about the
insist.
mothers, Indian mothers.
I'm talking about Indian parents. So all of us are on the same board, right? So we insist the children to, most of the, especially in the south part of India, they generally focus on engineering and medical or some other aspects, right? So where the children lose their resilience and they lead to a lot of stress, right? And they suppress their feelings and emotions when in the adolescence level. And because of their suppression, they get habituated to work for the other people emotions, and that gradually develops in the adulthood, right?
So
That is
normally,
subjugation.
normally it is believed that children are extension of our own souls. What we cannot achieve in our own life, we want to achieve it through our own children. That is how most of the times that is how our mind works.
Right, that's true. Right, and the second is approval seeking and recognition. So in this schema, uh, we generally focus more emphasis on getting the approval and recognition from the other people, right? We have that we always develop a kind of schema that we need to gain that approval and recognition. So because of why this is happening, because uh, the self-esteem here, if we can more talk about self-esteem, the self-esteem is dependent on the other people reactions. So if someone is not giving an recognition, then self-esteem goes down. If someone is giving a hand and giving a pull and giving a motivation, self-esteem goes up, right? And this schema often they develop a kind of social status. They build that it's very difficult to fix it. Why? Because they always have this schema to develop a social status as well as appearance, in the form of appearance, in the money or success, as a means of gaining approval recognition. So not only in their self-esteem, but they include money, social status, as well as society approval and their needs. So they include all these things in the sake of approval and the status symbol, and that's where that increases self-esteem. And why this happens? Because they do not had the needs of unconditional love and acceptance met by their parents in their early years. Because of this reason. And the mistrust, as I said, when there is some kind of expectation from other people, we generally take an advantage, and when we are taking that advantage, they get hurt, cheat, and put them down. and this will make a scheme of mistrust, right? So often, if they are having this kind of mistrust, they first start attacking and get revenge afterwards. And this is happening because in the childhood they might be often abused or treated unfairly by parents, siblings, or peers. Right? Any doubt?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
It's very simple. Actually, we see it in our everyday's life, but the definitions and terminology is different. So we need to remember this definition, but terminology, because while you are writing a case report or to understand the schemas, you need to jot it down what kind of schema it is. That's it, right? And the fourth schema is defectiveness or shame. And this schema is developed when they are realize this and they withdraw from the relationship, right? So when they feel the shame and uh, when they feel that there's inadequate love, then they just develop this kind of schema. Generally, in the childhood days, parents, when they're very critical with the children, right, and they don't show their love with to the children always develop a feeling they are not worthy of love, because their own parents are not loving them, so no one will love them. They're not worthy. So always they feel some kind of defective in them. If you always feel there is some defective and they are not worthy for the other people to recognize them. So they develop a shame feel. So if you see the word defectiveness itself says, because the parents itself in the childhood days have not shown the love towards them, they always see some defect in themselves, right? And the failure, and if we know what is failure. So if you see why this has happened, usually when the parents did not enough given enough support, discipline, and encouragement for the child to persist and succeed in areas of achievement, then the children, I mean anyone, develop a belief system they are incapable of performing well in any of their areas, either in the school or career or sports. They always believe as a system that they are untalented people, they are stupid or incapable persons, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And this is domain 5, over vigilance and inhibitations. This includes the prioritize of avoiding failure or mistakes. So the patients in this domain usually suppress their spontaneous feelings and impulses. So they always suppress their spontaneous feelings and impulses. They often strive to meet rigid and interpersonal rules to get their happiness, or to get relax, or to maintain a close relationship, or to develop a good health, or to give a self expressions, right? They develop this kind of schema, over vigilance and inhibitions. So here they suppress the spontaneous feelings in order to get happiness, self expressions, relaxations, close relationships, and good health. And this was happened in the childhood when they are repressed and strict and disciplined self-control in the childhood. So they always have self-denial to have an pleasure and enjoyment in their childhood. So generally the parents have always a denial for their pleasure activities. So parents always do not encourage the children in the sports or to play or to enjoy in the parties, right? They have the hyper vigilance on the children. So when they have that hyper vigilance on the children, that they develop a scheme of avoiding a failure or mistake all the time in their life. That is domain 5.
Normally, this happens with the female children in most of the families in India, that we are
Right.
over cautious, over protecting the children, and do not give them the freedom to. That is what the
Right.
normally.
Absolutely. But not only with the girls, as yeah, girls are more focused. But
Yeah.
nowadays, every parent is very possessive and hyper vigilance on the children, maybe because of the media, or are they doing are they on the right track, or they are on
Not,
time.
not on the media. The main reason is children are considered as an investment. Only one child will be there. So every emotional and financial investment is on the single child. So they are
Right.
overprotecting to protect their asset. That is how the things are.
Right. So in this domain, that is the main focus. So there are two subdomains here. This one is negativity and pessimism. So in this schema, they always in the lifelong, they focus on the negative aspects of life, either on the pain, death, or loss, disappointment, conflict, or betrayal, because they minimize the positive aspect and they're more focused on the negative aspect. So this schema includes not only that, they exaggerate their expectations on the other things, and in the process, they lose all the hope, right? They are trapped in a bad situation. So because of this, why this has happened? Because the parents of hypervigilance, right?
Yeah.
So this in this schema, the clients may not enjoy the happiest moments. They always focus on the negative rather than on the positive.
Yeah.
And the last is emotional inhibition. So here, there's a constraint on the spontaneous actions or feelings on communications. They usually do this to prevent criticized or losing control on their impulses, right? So the most inhibitions will be on anger or self-esteem, right? Or joy or affection or sexual affections or sexual excitement, right? Difficulty in expressions. So all this plays an important role in emotional inhibitions. So they suppress spontaneous emotions and impulses. So whatever the feelings they are having, they don't share with it. So this schema is often brought those who are not encouraged to express their feelings in front of the parents,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if they are not allowed to share their experiences or feelings, the child will not enjoy the moments. So he will not share their feelings. So any doubt until here? Or
No, ma'am.
there
No,
are two
ma'am.
more here. So there is unrelevant standards and hypercriticalness. So in this schema, they develop a belief system. Whatever you do is not good enough. They always strive harder and harder. Why this happens? Because parents are never satisfied with the result, whatever they have given, and they always give the children love that has conditional. So parents, they have the conditional love on an outstanding achievement. When they get an outstanding achievement, then only the parents show their love. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And the last is punitiveness. So this schema refers to the belief that people deserve to be harshly punished for making mistakes. So in this schema, people always are very critical or unforgiving for both for themselves and others. Even if they are doing mistakes, they will not accept themselves. They will be very critical to them. And if there someone is doing mistake, they're very critical to them. They tend to be very angry and imperfect behavior most of the time. In childhood, these clients usually had at least one parent who had put too much emphasis on performance and punitive style of controlling behavior. So when they are having too much of controlling behavior and emphasis on performance, then a child will develop this kind of punitiveness. In the shorter term, we can call it as perfectionism. So most of the children, they develop this perfectionism. And how many of us we are having this feature, this schema?
Most of the parents expect their children to perform better.
Yeah, most of the parents will have that performance, but most of people will have perfectionism quality. So if they don't be so perfect in their work, they get depressed. They have low
Yeah.
self-esteem.
Yeah.
Right. So most of them, and that's what I'm asking. How many of us we are having in the team right now? Perfectionism.
Most of the times, this is more familiar and more pronounced in the case of women rather than male. That is what I feel.
No, it's happening with everyone. So most of the people wants to work so perfect, and which is very highly impossible.
Yeah.
No, but
So people.
I will say
Mhm.
that, like whatever the doctor was saying, right? I would say male does that. I mean, there's again no male female, but in certain cases which I have seen, right? Like my mom was also a very strict mom. I mean, I really don't have these issues. My parents will say only one thing: you just get past, that's enough. We don't ask you any mask or course. And my thing will not be relevant to studies, but something if they say and if I don't understand, they feel that I don't obey them. So that is the case, but that they'll not punish me. I mean, that is relevant to what I was saying. But again, to be very strict and like discipline, I think more than mothers, fathers, teachers. So it's
Right.
like the
But
males.
most of the times the belief system will be developed from the childhood. And
Right.
and when we talk about this perfectionism, we always tend to be so perfect. The people have, if they have the tendency, they always get upset and depressed because they try to satisfy or convince each and every person around them, which is highly impossible.
Yeah.
Everybody will not have that positive opinion on us, right? So because of that challenge, they work so hard and hard and hard, and they get so stressed out, and they last finally reach to the burnout level, and from that burnout level, they leads to the stress and anxiety. So burnout is after the stress, so it leads to anxiety level.
Yeah.
Right. So all these are the schemas which we have to focus. So why a personality is being developed, why the schema has been developed, right? And these are the subdomains. So if you see in each therapy, we are learning one new task. So in the psychoanalytical, we learn about three things: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Id, ego, and superego. Psychodynamic, we learned depending on this three mindsets, three minds and personality, how to prepare a case study, right? And then behavior therapy, you learn few techniques, right? In the CBT, you learned a thinking pattern, cognitive distortions. Thinking pattern is nothing but cognitive distortions, and defense mechanisms, right? And in the mindfulness therapy, we learned how do we train our brain, and here we are learning schemas.
Yeah.
So in every therapy, we learn something new.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And now these are the coping styles, right? In these coping styles, usually the people who are having these schemas, they usually use these three coping styles. Coping style is nothing but to protect themselves, either fight response or freeze response. Either they surrender or they avoid it or they overcompensate it. People having these schemas, either they surrender or that they avoid it or they overcompensate.
So overcompensation, how exactly it works?
Yeah, I will explain. So if we see here, surrender schema, they always accept that schema was true and they act in this ways and they conform the schema. So for example, a young man with abandoned or instability schema might choose a partners who are unable to commit a long-term relationship, right? That is the problem. In the abandonment instability schema, the client will not be able to maintain a long-term relationship, right? He might then react to even a minor signs of indications, spending short time without his partner or exaggerating weights or feeling excessively negative emotions, right? So desperately, he accepts that all these things are because of this schema and he surrenders to that schema.
Yeah.
Right? So he might
Yeah.
also passively remain in the relationship because he sees there's no other possible way to connect with that woman. So he just surrender himself to that situation and he lives with that schema.
Yeah.
And the schema avoidance is here, the people are mostly they activate, which is causing the negative emotions. They always try to avoid the triggering schemas. So if the client knows this is the schema which he always feels a negative emotion, then he try to avoid that schema in order to not to feel that pain. So most of the times, and when people are having this emotional issues, they try to avoid it, avoid the situation, or in order to avoid the pain, they don't want to face that challenge. So most of the times, people use this schema, coping mechanism. So in the CBT, we have some coping mechanisms. In the schema also, we have three coping mechanisms. One is surrender, one is avoidance, right? So there are three kind of avoidance: cognitive, emotional, and behavior. If you see cognitive, they do not focus on any aspect of personality or any event which is causing disturbance to them. For example, the child who is having sexually abused, in order to forget that pain, they always try to avoid or forget that memory completely, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And in the emotional aspect, so if you see here, a man might talk about his wife has been acting in an abusive manner towards him, and he says that no longer his anger towards her. Even the wife is behaving in an abusive way with him, he always says, in order to avoid, he's not anger on her. He's just annoying, right? That is emotional avoidance. And the third is behavior. So in this situation, people try to avoid situations or the trigger schemas. For example, a woman with a failure schema might avoid taking a difficulty new job, which would be very good future for her. So because of this fear, right, in order to overcome, not able to take up this challenge or pain, she leaves her entire career, which is best for her. So this is avoidance. And if you see the third process is schema overcompensation. In this, the individual behaves in a manner which is opposite to the schema in order to avoid triggering the schema. Overcompensation is he appears to be opposite to what the schema suggests in order to avoid trigger the schema. If you see the example, a young man with a defective schemas might overcompensate by presenting himself as a perfect and being critical for others. The person who is having a defective in him, in order to overcompensate that, what he present himself as a perfect person, and he always critical with the other people because he wants to compensate that.
Okay.
So for that, what they do, they usually lead to criticize him in turn. So to avoid to overcompensate his challenge, he tried to behave perfect, and in return he criticized the other people, making them conform a belief system that he is not defective, he is very perfect. That is overcompensation.
Okay.
So these are the three coping mechanisms, coping styles generally people use with the schemas. And which one do you think? Is it avoidance or overcompensation or surrender? Most of the times, if you think all the schemas, which one do you think people generally they use? Is it surrender? Is it avoidance? Or is it compensation?
I feel avoidance. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Okay. Yamini is avoidance. Sridhar, you are saying something.
No, it is surrender most of the times. People, it is a escape route.
Yes.
It is a escape route for the person.
Okay. So surrenders.
Yeah.
Okay. What about batteries and other people? Darshita said surrender.
Yes,
What about
ma'am.
other
I
people?
also think it's surrender.
It's surrender. Okay.
Avoidance.
I think it's
Agirma,
avoidance. Ma'am, I think it's
Avoidance.
avoidance.
Yeah.
avoidance. Right. So if you ask me, it depends on the challenge. People use all the schemas depending on the challenge. It's not one. So
Yes.
I was asking you, in your experiences, have you seen any people using these coping styles?
Many.
Which one you came
All.
across very often, right? Which one you came across? Is it surrender or is it avoidance or is it compensation? Most of the times. So you are giving your own experiences that you are seeing only surrender, you are seeing avoidance, or you are seeing overcompensation, right? That's your
I've
experience,
also I've also experienced overcompensation,
right? But it
but that
depends
yeah,
on the
when
schemas,
that when that comes right, I try to avoid. Okay, fine. Actually, no, avoid comes when you surrender. Two things will happen. You'll surrender and
right?
then, I mean, avoid and then surrender, or avoid and then get
Right.
going. Just go, move away from it.
Any coping mechanism can be used depending on the challenge. So here, see, if you see here, the schema is very important. So this defense mechanism starts with the schemas only. I mean, the challenge, whatever the behavior mindset you are having at that moment, right?
Yeah.
And now finally, we are talking about the techniques in schema. So if you see in the schema, most of the techniques will be repeated with like the CBT. Amira, can you mute your mic? Thank you. So most of the times it is very closely to the CBT. So the techniques will be very similar to the CBT itself. So here we are using the imaginary technique, which we try to explore the childhood memories in order to understand what are those maladaptive schemas. So maybe we may first ask the client to imagine the sights or sounds or other sensations or dialogues which they can carry their memories in your sessions, and identify, make the client to understand what is that current situation, and emotion is being more affecting him for the future success. I mean, for the future situations, right? That is imagery process. So we implement this even in psychodynamics, psychoanalytical, as well as we use in the CBT, as well as you are using in the mindfulness as well. We are using this technique.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we explore with the childhood memories, visualizing them, either with the sound, with the images, or with the sensations, with the dialogues, or with the situations, anything which are carrying their emotions. So we ask the clients to, for example, you will ask them mother. So they will come up with a story related with the mother.
Okay.
Or with the sound of a whistle. So they come up with a story of the whistle, if anything is related. So
Can you
these
elaborate with an
can,
example?
see, for example, if the child is having sexual abuse,
Yeah.
right? She has a multiple times of sexual abuse, and she has reached to 25 years now. Now, whenever, but she has a boyfriend, right? And whenever the boy touches her, immediately it flashes in her mind something is happening, and
Yeah.
she loves that person, but she doesn't allow that person to touch her, right? So there is an connection between these two. So you are going to ask, imagine he touched you. Tell me your experiences. Close your eyes, and what is your imagination? What all is going through your imaginations? What are all the pictures coming into your mind? Explore it. So the client will tell you what are the flashes, what are the images flashing in the mind.
Yeah.
But how to cure that? I mean, the technique, okay, imagine that the client is saying all their concerns, but as a psychotherapist, how do we like give a cure or assignment or homework?
So right now, if for example, using that image, if the client is having a very severe intensity level of emotion, right? Maybe out of 1 to 10, the client is experiencing 9. Then you will ask the client, okay, right now, if you want to replace that image with any other image, then which one do you prefer? In this touch aspect, there's a story behind it. So you need to identify what are all the pictures the client is saying, and you would ask the client, which one do you want to replace? Out of 10 pictures, which one the client want to replace? Then you will ask the client to replace that image and identify what is that emotion. And all the techniques, remember one thing, it will not happen in one session or 2 sessions. It is, you are setting up a hierarchy. You are setting up a hierarchy here. You are removing that phobia. You are removing that anxiety level in a step-by-step process. If you remember the hierarchy in the behavior therapy, what we have learned step by step, we have developed our own hierarchy level, right? If you remember.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, we need to design any kind of technique.
Okay.
It's not imaginary, it's not flashcard or anything. Always hierarchy. Right?
Mm, right, but again, I'm not getting the solution. I mean, I don't know. If I were in that situation as a therapist, how do I provide a solution? Like I'm just trying to get it. Maybe it's me or it's everyone. I don't know, but
Okay, let me explain my own example. So when I had an experience of my father's death, almost an year, I was not able to forget my father's death. So I was completely upset and depressed. And all the time I used to imagine the place where my father sit. I was able to sense him on the bed, right? I was able to hear the sound of his, that he is talking to me, right? I used to feel all those sensations. So at that moment, I know how to overcome, but still I have taken help of my friend. I should admit that I have taken help of my friend to overcome those feelings. It has taken me almost more than a year to overcome that, because I am able to sense the touch of my father. So whenever I'm in upset mode, I used to feel my father is holding my hand, and I can feel that warmness when he's holding my hand. I used to get up from the bed. I used to feel that nervousness and shivering and everything, because I know consciously that he's no more. But unconsciously, I'm not accepting his death, and I'm recalling. I have loaded with lot of images. Now, my friend has asked me, tell me what are those images which is giving a lot of pain, right? This is the imaginary technique. Lot of pain. So I started explaining that I have seen my father. Still now, while I'm explaining you, I'm able to recollect my father hands, which has turned into blue color, because that was the first image I have seen when my father was dead. It has stored in my mind. So whenever I see that image, my heart gets start palpitating. So that is the first image. And now I ask, now the next is, what is the next picture? So there's just step-by-step pictures. Now I don't want to recall, but still there are so many images which is there in my mind. Now my friend asked me, what are those images? List down images which is creating a lot of. So I have picked up 10 images out of that. And out of those 10 pictures, she has asked me to replace one image out of 9, out of 10. So 9 will be same, one will be replaced, which is causing me high level of anxiety.
replace with what image?
For example, for me, the high level of anxiety is feeling that sensation of my father.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not able to tolerate that sensation. So I want to remove this sensation. So if you see in the imaginary technique, sight, sound, sensation, everything are being included. So that is my first anxiety level. So there is a bad experience related to this sensation that my father has died. Now I am replacing this sensation with a good thing that my father is holding me right from the childhood when he has taken me to the school. So I had an experience in my mind that even now my mom used to tell me, whenever I talk about my father, I get tears in my eyes, thinking that he is I'm very pampering child to him, right? So I have that more emotional bonding with him. So my mother used to tell me, when my father is not dropping me in the school, when the rickshaw comes, I have to go to my daddy's office and then meet him, and I should hug him. Then only I will go to the school. Otherwise, a big drama will happen. So now that image is being replaced here with that touch. I'm feeling that good sensation. Initially, it is difficult to replace. I can replace the image, but not the sensation. It happens gradually. So the intensity level has to be reduced, and then the next image.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay.
right?
Now I'm
This is
getting
the
it. Okay.
process, imaginary.
So replacing with a good image from the painful that image.
It's not only the image, it's all about your experience, it's
Yeah.
your sensations.
Yeah.
So every emotion is attached with the experience. So
Yeah.
it's not an image, you have to replace that image with the experience.
With the experience.
Now,
Yeah.
With good
in my,
experience, with a good
with good
emotion.
experience. So with
Yeah.
that same touch, I had a good experience also. So I am changing this image with a bad experience to the good experience with this different image. But
Yeah.
holding hand is the same aspect,
Yeah.
right? Now got it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I'm getting it. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And I'm sorry. I
No
mean,
problem.
yeah.
No problem. Right? And the
Even I'm
second
in the
technique
same
is
boat. Yeah. Even I lost my dad. I mean, at the age 20. And yeah, don't worry. We are on the
it
same page.
happens. Yeah. So the second technique is flashcards. So in this technique, we create some kind of flashcards where you give the, it can be a simple statements or a words or a notes for the client to talk about their emotions and experiences. They can write down their experiences, they can talk about it, or they can frame a simple word, anything, looking at those flashcards. It is similar like imaginary. So there it is a visualization. Here you are showing a flashcard directly without closing the eyes. With this flashcard, what are the image you are showing it? You'll ask the client to write a story, recreate a story.
Yeah.
So recreating story is one of the famous technique nowadays we use most of the time. So whatever the story you had, you listen, you have to recreate it, the message of the story. That's called as rewriting of the story. That is nothing but flashcard, right?
Yes.
And the third technique is chair work. So in this here again in the chair work, the therapy moves between two chairs, experiencing different kind of emotions. Is a kind of role play. So we are sitting in the chair, we ask the client to imagine the dialogues within the family, friends, and the significant people. In this chair work, they make most of the statements which are emotionally needed, and they make an ideal chair sitting in one chair, and they will hear the client will be there in the other chair. Even the client move to the other chair, but in that chair he will play the role of other people. It's a kind of role play. So what other people are thinking and what the client is thinking, he will view in a different aspect. He will change the perception of the other people
Like
by
sometimes
shifting.
sorry.
Mhm.
Sometimes the
Yeah,
psychotherapist has to play the client's role, right?
right,
Okay.
right.
And flashcard recreating the stories again. I mean, I'm just trying to understand the flashcard. So, say suppose again, like an imaginary technique only, rather than imagining a
Mhm.
positive, communication or experience, flashcard is like, I mean, even though it is negative, you're trying to impose a positive kind of, a conversation stating that, hey, you should not understand the situation like this. Rather, you should have understood like this. Like recreating everything into a positive aspect, right?
Right, right. It's not at a positive aspect. Let's forget the positive word. Instead of thinking about a positive, we can say writing their experience in a different way,
Okay, okay, okay.
looking the things in a different manner,
Okay.
right? And the
Yeah.
diaries is always is like a thought log which we use in the CBT. So diary log, we ask the clients to maintain their diary, write their experience, the situation, their emotion, intensity, what are the thinking patterns they are associated with. We will ask the clients to maintain those diaries whenever after the sessions. So this could be one of the technique. So from this, even the client will have an insight what kind of emotions they're having. At the same time, how much intensity the client is having, and we can approach the client with using different kind of other techniques as well.
Okay.
So finally, we came to the conclusion here. There is a limitation over here. One major concern is here, schema therapy. Sorry, it's always related to the cost and length of the time, because we are discussing here about the trauma where the client involves uh, a lot of emotional attachment. There will be a lengthy story. It takes longer time, and it takes longer time to heal as well. So that's the reason this schema therapy is a little bit lengthy process. As I said, it has taken me more than a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Ma'am, you told this schema therapy most of the time used in personality disorders. But after going through with this session, I feel this particular therapy can be better used in marital discord also. Wherever marital discards are there, most of the times I think this can be applied and it may give a wonderful result.
We can, it's not only for the personality disorder, it can be used for chronic issues. So
Chronic
those who are
issues.
having a long-term
Yeah,
problem and issues
yeah,
and
yeah,
severe intensity level, we can use
yeah.
this.
I think marital discard is one of the areas wherein I think this scheme can be better utilized, this therapy, provided they
Right.
cooperate, couples cooperate each other, and they are ready to come for longer sessions.
But
Duration
out
matters.
of my experience, couple therapy
Yeah.
or marital therapy will never get a solution. They just come with their assumptions,
But
presuppositions. So
why do you think that there's no solution? Like, I don't.
that's what my experience with my
Clients.
government Barosa team, which runs by Telangana government.
Uh,
So I was an leading psychologist over there for the marital issues for few times. So that
Because
was my experience.
maybe I could be wrong here or right. Sometimes, couples feel that, okay, he's or she is my property. I can do anything with. Then problem comes when they say that, okay, fine, now that's it. Like we are going to break up or we are going to get separated. Then they will say, okay, this person is leaving us. So what I'll do, I'll be so much good to this person so that this person will not leave me and apologize and everything. And once that person will get back, again they tend to show their face, like taking them for granted on being very lenient way that, hey, you know what, you should bear me how I am. But that kind of an attitude must not be for a very healthy relationship, I would say, because that is a
See, it
demand.
depends
I'm
again
not saying,
on
I'm not
it.
blaming men or women. I mean, even women demands that. Okay, where will you go?
I
Will
do
yeah.
understand that. I do
Mm.
understand that, but most of the times, and for the couple therapy, generally, 70 to 80% people they come with a with their goal. They just decide and come here. That's it. And the organization which I worked is like a pre-counseling when they apply for the divorce.
yeah. Yeah, normally
So pre-counseling,
in the court there is a mediation process is there
there is a
before.
mediation for that.
Yeah, in that stage
So and
only. Yeah,
so
that is.
the government court gives a chance for them to have a again one more thought,
But that is only
but
a
still it doesn't
procedural
end.
aspect. It is more of a procedural aspect rather than anything because
Yeah.
already people are made up of their mind.
True.
So, what do you think in these cases? Like, did you, I mean, overcome any situation where a couple comes for a divorce and they say that, okay, when you counsel, I mean, maybe
They will be
from the
there.
counseling
They will be
process
there.
and I mean, suppose after the counseling, if they change their mind, will they like, are they continuing or they coming back saying that no, that was a wrong decision and we cannot do that?
We
What
never
your
know that because see, there will be very rare cases once they have decided that they want to stay together, and if there is again there is any dispute or conflict between them, They may approach the same psychologist or they may not. But in
No,
my
after the
experience, I am
counseling, that's what,
working with the
after the
government,
counseling.
right? I'm working with the government, so they are not supposed to come back again. So I used to work with the police department, Barosa,
Yeah.
which is run by the government. So
Yeah.
unless until they don't file a case, they are not supposed to come back to the Barosa. So
That is how.
Ma'am, and I have a doubt.
Yes, Amira.
We'll be getting a certificate after this course, right? Like a psychotherapist or what?
Yes. You can contact with. I think Somnath will help you a lot. Definitely, you will get a certificate.
Yeah,
That you
after that,
have
can
trained
we,
on all the psychotherapists.
are we allowed to give counseling or therapy after this certificate?
I think you can.
Okay. So we can, you can use any kind of technique to the those who are in need, right? So there is
Yes.
no particular therapy to be given, or we can mix up all those.
It is my opinion. I am not saying
Yeah.
that you have to use all the techniques. I am
Now,
saying
do we
my
have
own
to
experience.
do we have to tell the patients that we are using these kind of techniques to use, so that we can cure or what, or we can
No,
use it by
no.
our own?
You have to use it on your own. Only therapist has to know what kind of technique you are using. The client has to know only the goal, what you are working. So what the goal you have planned, or what is the goal of the client, but not about the technique.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The client will go to Google and search what this fellow is doing,
Yeah.
and they will find out. And they will come with their doubt in the next session. I think you
Yeah,
have made a
but
mistake there. They will say like that.
so
As
that
per
would be one of the
Google.
reason.
Yeah.
But on the ethical principles, if you're talking about ethical principles
Yeah.
of counseling, you're not supposed to
Yeah, you are right.
reveal the treatment.
Yeah, you are right. You are right.
You are supposed to tell only the you have to give the awareness or the insight about the problem, and as well as what purpose you are working with the client. I mean the goal of the client.
Yeah, right.
That's all. Okay, guys. Hope you have enjoyed the session for all the 8 therapies, 8 classes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
of
the
course.
best
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
career.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
you are
much,
so
ma'am.
polite
Thank
and
you, ma'am.
very nice
Thank
to
you,
us.
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and all the best for your future. And I wish all these therapists will help you in your practice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
And
ma'am.
can we
Thank you so
send
much,
the
ma'am.
assignment in a week? Is that okay?
Yes, yes, you can take your time by completing your assignments. So there is no deadline for as of now because many people are working. And I would like to thank Funny ma'am for your support and precious time and the encouragement that you have given to all of us by giving the example of your real life scenarios and the experience that you have gained till now. You are a great mentor, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Somna. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for you bearing me the time limit. Actually,
No problem, ma'am. Ma'am, until I told you previously, once we are spending a quality time, it hardly matters. But if we don't have any class, you can take as much of time you can take. So no issues from our
that is
side. And also, I would like to thank everybody because the attendance is superb this time. Everyone is attending every classes. So I would like to thank every participant to make this program a successful program. And for the certificates, soon you will get the procedure how to get your certificates.
Okay.
And then we can go further. And also, I would like to tell that we have one more program that is coming in the March month. So that will be taken care by Funny Ma'am only, which is a NLP masterclass. This is a 2.5 month program. So basically, we focus only on NLP.
Yeah.
And ma'am, Funny ma'am will be there only to help you out, to give you all this experiences and the learning that she has taken.
Yeah.
And the people who are interested can drop their name in the chat box. and then we can give them proper detail and guidance how to join this program.
And I would really like to thank Pani ma'am because she's so patient, she's so humble, and the way she expresses things, right, really gets connected with our experience in our life, and I mean, being very lively. And of course, nobody will try to miss her class because her classes are very interesting, insightful, and also like very interactive, where we feel it really worth joining her class. And thank you so much for being so patient with everyone. And yeah, one last request. I still don't see that CBT 26 slider, or there's only 14 slides.
Okay.
Because I'm very curious on that.
So no, I think we need to upload that PPT, which was CBT.
No problem, ma'am. We'll do that. I think the wrong PPT was uploaded. No issues. We'll do that.
Yeah, because Yamini didn't find even this week. She was waiting for that.
No problem, Yamini. What happens, we also, have some multiple batches. So might be we get confused and, by mistake, we have uploaded that. You can contact on this number. That number is written. That is my number.
Yeah.
So you can write it down, this number, and you can call me so that instantly we can resolve your issue.
Sure. Okay. Thanks a lot, Somnath, and thanks a lot, everyone. I mean, I have learned a lot of experiences on, from your inputs. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for all of your support, and even I enjoyed a lot, especially this batch. The attendance, as Somnath said, is full all the time, on time. Everybody has attended the class, and with a very curiosity level. So everybody has a lot of doubts, and that made me even more patient so that I can explain you very clear. I tried my level best to fulfill all your doubts. And this NLP program is being taken by me. As I said, I think yesterday Sridhar has asked me. So you have seen the advertisement, right?
Yeah.
So this NLP program.
Yeah.
So this is NLP is again. So I think Yamini gets more interested. It's always about how this mind works and how you can control over your mind for your self-development, as well as your career, as well as to help other people.
Yeah. I am new to that area. Just I am interested to know. Not much. I had a minimum knowledge of that. Just I am just trying to see how best.
Then be part of the sessions, Sridhar. Then you will be a good partner for me to explain with the real experience and with real time knowledge.
So how different is NLP and CBT? Like NLP also is like about the cognitive behavior, right? I mean, how different is NLP and then CBT?
NLP and CBT is included in NLP.
Okay.
So here we again in the NLP, we completely focus on your mind pattern, which we are thinking about your conscious mind, unconscious mind, and subconscious mind. So how these thoughts are entering into your subconscious mind, and how you are relating those information with your real-time experiences. As I said, for example, let's think everybody knows apple is good for health. You have to eat one apple every day. A small example. How do you know that?
Because I've been told from the childhood.
How? So somebody has told you.
Yeah,
it's your experience. So and from that you have started a habit that you have to eat an apple every day.
Right.
And why that? And some people may not believe that apple is good for health. So that is their perception. This is your perception. How this perception has happened. So what are the information you have taken from the 5 sense organs? The information, whatever you received, your mind takes the information and then it deletes. It develops some kind of pre-assumptions, and from that assumptions it generalizes the statements and it will give the information to you, and that's where you will see that thing in a different perspective. So now the challenges arises with all the perceptions of whatever you are weaving about the situation. So the NLP deals how to change your perception.
That is where the subject main. Yeah.
How to change your perception instead of changing your thought process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this NLP can be implemented on you first as well as on the clients. So why on we? Because as I said, everybody is a human being. We all have challenges, right? It can be used in our day-to-day life. It calms down all the emotions as well. And we can develop a kind of different kind of how to perceive the world in a positive aspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So first comes the
so it's
perception.
all about communication. It's all about communicating. How do you communicate a message to yourself? That's what a perception is. So there are different kind of techniques. How do you communicate the message to your brain? So you will train yourself the communication. So this here the communication plays an important role.
Training the brain, basically. Training the mind. Okay. Yeah. So that means CBT. Okay. Now I am understanding. CBT is a thinking pattern. So the thinking pattern comes from a perception. So we have to correct the perception, and then the thinking pattern will automatically get corrected.
So the way how do you communicate to yourself will raise an emotion and your thought process. So now you are changing the communication. There we are changing the thought, and here we are changing the communication. So when you change the communication, your thought will be changed. Again, here CBT why it is included, because here there is a thought again, right? You are reframing the thought process again. So it is included.
Yeah.
But with the different techniques.
Okay.
Because we are using the communication more here. We are viewing the world in a different view.
So changing the communication process rather than the emotion. Training the brain. Changing the perception rather than the thoughts. Okay.
As I said, emotion can't be, can't be deleted. It can be balanced or reduced.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you're right.
Right. So when there is a thought, right? So you can change that thought the way you communicate to yourself. So CBT, we are changing the thought. NLP, you are communicating the message. How do you change that thought? This is the logic.
So techniques are little different there and here.
Techniques are totally different.
Yeah.
We can't see this in the CBT.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect path which I can see. I think I'll better change the communication, then I'll emotionally follow it. Okay,
That's what I said. Yamini, you will be more interested on this.
Yeah.
Because your starting question itself is the same thing, right? So that's what I have taken your name. Because I know when I have taken the introduction part on the first class, you said that you want to change yourself as well as you want to implement this in your life.
Yeah. Usually, whatever class you taught me, right? I had all examples from whatever you taught. Like, for example, the schema therapy, right? Each and everything I've undergone, not just one emotion, multiple emotions, multiple circumstances. I've undergone a lot of things, right? Yeah. So I'm standing strong here because I'm able to tackle it. So I understood, okay, why don't, if I'm able to tackle it without knowing anything, if I know if I know something, then definitely I can do a lot more to the people out there. So that's the reason which it brought me to this class.
Right. So that's what, see,
this is the beauty of psychology, no? This is the beauty of psychology. It transforms us without our knowledge. When we undergo the courses, without our knowledge, automatically we get transformed.
We involve in the subject actually.
Yeah.
It's like an ocean. We'll be learning.
Yeah, it is the beauty of.
And that's why I'm here.
Yeah. No, we are also here because of the same thing.
This advanced NLP, right? Is there any basic version and then advanced, or directly I can fit into an
There's a
advanced?
basic version and then advanced. But it is
Okay.
total together.
Oh, okay. Then cool. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think
Basic
I'll
to
be up for it. I think Dr. Sridhar sir, even I would also encourage you to come join with us.
No, really.
There will be a partner for Yamini. One down.
See, this is what once you do formal some qualifications, then go for different short-term courses so that we will become more proficient in the subject, and we will be. That is what yesterday I
That's
think
the
you are
reason we
asking a
made it
question.
for.
Yeah,
That's
one
the reason we
formal
made it for
qualification
2
also. Yeah, once we should have some formal qualifications, that is psychology, MA, or clinical
Yeah.
psychology, or counseling, like that. You should have one post graduation, or you should have a graduation. Then you should go for different types of courses available, short-term courses, so that our knowledge becomes more concrete, and we'll be having a better understanding of the subject. That is
Right.
what.
But
that is-
NLP doesn't require any psychology background.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Only after going through the course we may able to understand it.
Psychology doesn't need any we doesn't require any psychology background. It's all
Why
about
really?
your how do you
Yeah.
train your brain. So how do
Okay.
you communicate to yourself? So
Yeah.
for that, you can become an NLP trainer and you can train other people. But for that, you don't need to have a degree of psychology.
Yeah.
But for CBT and other things, you need a degree of psychology.
Yeah.
I have done some NLP basic level maybe.
Oh, great. So Amira has done that.
Yeah, some belief systems, personality developing, like that. And I used to teach them to my kids and even my school students also.
Oh, okay, great. So that's what it helps everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, guys, I think it's already 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your participation and encouragement as well.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
for,
And
Thank
Thank you, ma'am.
you will be getting
Yeah.
a call from our side.
Thank
if
you,
are
ma'am.
interested,
okay.
for NLP.
Thank
Then you will get a call.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot.
much. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. See you.
Bye-bye.